This has been sitting heavy on my chest for a while now, and I think I've finally hit the point where I can't keep it bottled up anymore. The whole mess with my family, it wasn't just frustrating, it was maddening. Still, I never imagined it would unravel the way it did. Honestly, I'm still kind of dazed by how it all went down. So buckle up, because this is one of those stories you'll probably shake your head at and wonder how I even got to this point. But before I dive into the whole thing, let me give you a little background on who I am. My name's Daniel Morgan. I'm 43, live in Flagstaff, Arizona now, and for the first time in my life, I breathe easy. It started long before I even knew what responsibility meant. Our dad took off when I was 11, just left a note on the fridge and a silence in our lives that never quite healed. From then on, I was the man of the house. My mom, bless her, but she was better at denial than she ever was at parenting. She clung to my little brother, Sam, like he was the last good thing left in the world. And maybe in her eyes, he was. But here's the thing, Sam never had to lift a finger. Straight D's in high school. He needed time to find himself. Left a part-time job after 2 weeks. He's just sensitive. Meanwhile, I was pulling shifts after school at the gas station and cooking dinner before I even got my learner's permit. I didn't complain. I didn't have the luxury. The older I got, the more it became a routine. Me holding things together. Sam screwing things up. My mother pretending everything was fine. But I think the moment everything finally snapped into clarity was the summer Sam graduated. He barely made it across that stage, and they gave him a brand new Chevy Camaro. Not used. Brand. New. Big red bow in the driveway like we were in some kind of car commercial. What did I get that summer? A box of bleach, rubber gloves, and the kind of thank you that sounds more like an afterthought. Something broke in me that day. I didn't say anything right away. I remember going upstairs to the room I used to share with Sam before he got his own space, and I was moved to the garage because apparently the golden boy needed quiet for his video games and sleeping till noon. I sat on the edge of that old futon, stared at the walls I'd patched and repainted over the years, and felt a kind of stillness that wasn't peace. It was resignation. That night, while they celebrated Sam's achievement with cake and champagne, I packed a duffel bag. No grand exit, no shouting match, no demands. Just folded clothes, my little jar of savings, and a notebook full of half-finished plans. I left the cleaning supplies on the kitchen counter with a note. You'll need these more than I do. I took the midnight Greyhound to Phoenix. No real plan, just the sense that anywhere had to be better than staying in a house that only noticed me when something broke. At first, it was brutal. I slept in a motel room. I split with a guy named Tony who snored like he was trying to summon thunder. I got a job washing dishes at a diner where the manager barked orders like a drill sergeant with a hangover. But I kept showing up. Every day. On time. I saved every spare dollar and upgraded from the motel to a room in a shared house. That place had peeling paint, bad plumbing, and a front porch that creaked like a horror movie. But it was mine. Mine. Over the next 5 years, I moved up. Busboy to line cook to assistant manager. Eventually, I helped open a second location and got a stake in the business. That little diner with a flickering neon sign, it now has 3 stars on Yelp and a wait list on weekends. Then, last year, I bought a house in Flagstaff. A real house, with a yard and windows that open all the way and creak-free floors. And when I stood in the doorway for the first time, keys in hand, I realized something. I didn't run away. I walked towards something better. Something mine. And that's exactly when the calls started coming in. It was a Tuesday. The first call came around 9:12 a.m. Mom flashing on the screen. I didn't answer. The voicemail that followed was sugary on the surface, but I could hear the panic bubbling underneath. She missed me, was just checking in, wondering how I was doing, and oh, by the way, had I seen the news about the job layoffs back home? Sam was having a hard time adjusting. Things were just so stressful. I didn't call back. That silence? It was me finally learning how to breathe. 2 days later, I got a text from Sam. First one in 3 years. No hello, no apology. Just, hey man, you got a minute to talk? Things are kind of falling apart here. Here's the twist though. A year before that, I had quietly gotten a call from a buddy back in Mesa who worked with Sam. Told me Sam had quit his job, wrecked the Camaro, and had been crashing with Mom ever since. No rent, no job, just vibes. I had said nothing. Let them dig their hole. But now, the dirt was caving in and they were scrambling to climb out. And suddenly, I was supposed to be the rope. And not just any rope, the dependable one. The one that never frays. The one who always says, don't worry, I got you. But this time, no, I didn't pick up, didn't text back. Instead, I walked into my kitchen, poured myself another cup of coffee, and watched the steam rise like a silent toast to every version of me that used to cave in and call back. It didn't stop there. That week, I got 3 more texts. 2 from Mom, one from a number I didn't recognize, but I'd bet every dollar in my savings it was Sam using someone else's phone. All variations of the same theme. They missed me. They were worried. Could I just call? Even just for a few minutes? Then came the photos. Old family pictures. Me at 14, in a hand-me-down suit at my middle school graduation. Me and Sam on a broken-down bicycle, both of us grinning like idiots. Mom holding us both in her arms like she was holding the entire world together. I could almost hear her voice through those images. Remember? Remember when we were a family? Yeah, I remembered. I remembered waking up at 5:30 every morning to make sure Sam had breakfast before school. I remembered skipping prom because Mom couldn't afford both our tuxes, and Sam's the baby. He needs it more. I remembered selling my first car to help them cover rent after Sam blew his scholarship and came back home. So yeah, I remembered. And the more I remembered, the heavier those pictures felt. Like they were trying to drag me back into a house I already burned down with good reason. Guilt dressed up in nostalgia is still guilt. And it stinks the same. The last straw wasn't a text or a photo. It was a voicemail from Sam. And I'm not proud to admit it, but I listened to the whole damn thing. He said things were bad. Mom was behind on her meds. Utilities were being shut off. He didn't know what to do. He sounded scared, truly scared, for the first time in his life. And for about 12 seconds, I felt it. That old reflex. The urge to step in, to fix it, to sacrifice myself for the same people who'd leave me in the rain if it meant Sam stayed dry. But then, as if the universe knew I needed a reminder, I looked up, and there, right above my kitchen sink, was a framed note I wrote to myself years ago when I first moved out. You don't owe your peace to the people who destroyed it. I read it twice. Then I deleted the voicemail. It was a Thursday afternoon when I got the letter. Not a text, not an email, an actual letter. Handwritten even. The envelope had my full name in that familiar looping script, my mother's handwriting. I held it in my hands for a long moment, unsure whether to open it or burn it. Curiosity won. Barely. It started off soft, like a lullaby, trying to soothe me into forgiveness. She missed me. She'd been praying. She hoped I was happy. And then, there was the ask. Not money this time. She wanted me to come visit. Said it would mean the world to her. Said Sam had been trying, that things were different now. That they were proud of me. Always had been, even if they hadn't said it right. She even included a photo. A recent one. Mom sitting on the porch, her hair grayer than I remembered. Sam beside her, thinner, bags under his eyes. The house in the background looked smaller somehow, like grief had pressed down on it from all sides. Something in me wavered. I'll admit it. So I did the unthinkable. I booked a ticket. I didn't tell them I was coming. I showed up 2 Saturdays later. Pulled up in my truck, parked across the street like I was casing the place, not coming home. The paint on the house was peeling. Weeds had grown up around the porch. A window was cracked and taped over from the inside. No one was outside. I rang the bell. It was Sam who opened the door. His face dropped like he'd seen a ghost. He said my name, or I think he did, and then stepped back like he wasn't sure I was real. I stepped in. The house smelled like mildew and reheated resentment. Dust on everything. Silence where life used to be. And then Mom came down the hall, slowly, as if every step was made of memory. Her eyes welled up before she even spoke. For one brief second, I almost thought maybe, just maybe, this could be different. And then she said the words that told me everything I needed to know. You came just in time. The water heater's out. I just stood there for a second, like my brain hadn't caught up with my ears. The words floated in the air between us like smoke from a fire I didn't start. The water heater's out. No, I'm so glad you're here. No, I've missed you. Just a utility crisis wrapped in a welcome. And when she finally did step forward and hug me, it wasn't warmth I felt. It was calculation. Like I was being measured. Like she was already mentally scanning my face for signs. Would I help? Would I fix it? Was the checkbook coming out or not? I patted her back once, then stepped away. Sam had retreated to the kitchen by then, where the faucet was dripping a slow, mocking beat into the silence. The place looked smaller inside than I remembered. Or maybe I'd just grown too much to fit in it anymore. They offered me coffee. I said no. I knew what came next. The real reason they'd written, called, prayed, and guilted their way into a visit. And right on cue, Sam pulled out a crumpled notebook and started listing off things they were trying to get sorted. The water heater, sure, but also the front steps, the leaking roof, some overdue bills, something about the car needing brakes. And then, the bold one, Mom sighed and said she hated to bring it up, but their property taxes were coming up next month. She said it like someone bringing up cancer at a birthday party. Gentle, tragic, time for maximum sympathy. I didn't flinch, didn't raise my voice, just stared at the coffee table and let the silence stretch until it got awkward. Then I looked up and said, very calmly, I came because you asked me to. I didn't come to fix things. Not anymore. Sam blinked like I'd slapped him. Mom's lips parted like she was about to argue, but I raised one hand. Please, don't. Just listen. I wish I could say what I told them next had been rehearsed, polished, said with the poise of someone fully healed. But the truth is it came out raw. Measured but raw. I wasn't trying to win a debate. I wasn't there to prove anything. I just wanted to say it once and for all, the truth out loud. I told them I was done being their solution. I said I understood now, crystal clear, what my role had always been in that house. Provider, repairman, buffer between Sam's chaos and Mom's denial. I said I knew, deep down, they didn't reach out because they missed me. They reached out because I was useful. And now that things were falling apart, they hoped I'd fall back into place like a tool you toss in the shed until the next emergency. I told them I wasn't that person anymore. Sam looked wounded, like I'd just betrayed some sacred sibling pact. He opened his mouth to say something, but I kept going, because if I stopped, I wasn't sure I'd have the strength to start again. I reminded Mom about the Camaro, about that box of cleaning supplies, about every sacrifice I made quietly, and how not once had they acknowledged it. Not once. I told her it wasn't even about money anymore. It was about dignity, about not being treated like a walking wallet or an emotional landfill. Her eyes watered. I didn't stop. I told Sam that if he wanted to fix his life, he'd have to start with a job, not a favor. That growing up doesn't mean waiting around until someone else pays your bills again. That I wasn't angry at him. Not anymore, but I also wasn't here to keep cleaning up his messes. And then I said the one thing that had been sitting in my chest like a stone for years. I said, I love you both, but I don't trust either of you. That was a knife. I didn't swing it wildly. I placed it gently on the table and let it sit there. No one spoke for a while after that. Eventually, I got up, told them I'd be staying in a motel that night. Mom looked like she wanted to reach out to stop me, but she didn't. Sam just nodded, jaw tight, staring at the floor. As I walked out, I didn't slam the door. I didn't stomp off like a dramatic kid in a movie. I just left, quiet, certain, and light in a way I hadn't felt in decades. I went to a diner afterward, ordered breakfast at 6 in the evening, sat there sipping burnt coffee and staring out the window like a man who had finally put down a load he'd been carrying so long. He forgot what it felt like not to. The motel I checked into that night was the same one I'd stayed in when I first left home all those years ago. A crumbling little place off Route 60 with flickering hallway lights and a buzzing vending machine that only took quarters in spite. Back then, I couldn't afford to stay more than 2 nights in a row. This time, I paid for the weekend in advance and didn't even blink. Funny how a place doesn't change, but you do. I sat on the edge of the bed, shoes still on, staring at the floral wallpaper like it might tell me what the hell to feel. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel sad either. I just felt empty, not the bad kind, the clean kind, like a room finally cleared out after years of clutter. And in that silence, I realized something I hadn't quite admitted until then. My family wasn't my responsibility. Not their bills, not their broken things, not their bruised egos or borrowed time. For so long, I thought walking away would mean I was cruel, that I was abandoning people who needed me. But I wasn't their parent. I was their son. And somehow, I'd let that role turn into something else entirely. Caretaker, peacekeeper, the one-man fire department for a family always on the verge of catching flame. And now, let burn. The next morning, I walked downtown and found a small cafe with good coffee and quiet music. Sat by the window, watched the world wake up without me needing to fix a single part of it. I sent one text, and only one, to my mother. It said, "You raised 2 sons. One learned how to survive. The other learned how to wait. I hope he figures it out. Take care of yourself." She didn't reply. I didn't expect her to. I spent the rest of the weekend in that motel. Watched old reruns. Took long showers. Drove nowhere in particular. Slept without looking at my phone once. And when Sunday came, I didn't pack a rush. I folded each shirt slowly, like someone closing the final chapter of a book he once thought had no ending. Before I checked out, I left the motel key on the desk along with a $20 tip and a note to the front desk clerk. Just 4 words. Ghosts don't pay rent. And then I left. Not from somewhere. Towards something. 3 weeks passed. I didn't call. Didn't text. I went back to Flagstaff like I just stepped out for air, not closure. At work, nobody knew what had happened, and I didn't offer it. Some stories rot if you try to share them too early. They need time to settle, like sediment in a bottle. Otherwise, you're just pouring out muddy water. Then one night, I heard a knock. It was late, too late for deliveries, too late for neighbors. I looked through the peephole and saw a face I never expected to see on my porch. Sam, not the version from childhood, not the smug one with the Camaro keys jingling in his palm. No, this Sam looked hollow. Eyes dark, hoodie worn at the elbows, backpack slung over one shoulder like a college dropout looking for somewhere to land. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He just stood there. I opened the door but didn't move aside. He said he was on his way to California. Said he needed a place to crash for the night. That everything back home had gone sideways. Mom had taken in a boarder to cover the mortgage. The house felt like a stranger's now. He didn't ask for money, not directly. Just shelter. And I stood there, every muscle in my body screaming that I was at another crossroads. The old version of me would have let him in without hesitation, fed him, made up the couch, handed him coffee in the morning like nothing happened. But that man was tired. That man had died in a motel off Route 60 with a 20 left on the dresser. So I asked him one question. Why me? Sam blinked. Not like he didn't understand, but like no one had ever asked him that before. He looked down at his shoes, then back at me. And what he said next, I still don't fully know how to live with. He said, because I don't know how to be anyone without you around. And that broke something open. Not in a way that let light in a way that made me realize how dark he really was inside. I don't remember moving. One minute I was standing in the doorway, that sentence echoing inside me like a dropped coin in a well. I don't know how to be anyone without you around. And the next, Sam was stepping inside. I didn't say, make yourself at home. I didn't ask him if he was hungry. I didn't offer a blanket. But I didn't shut the door in his face, either. He sat on the edge of my couch like someone waiting to be judged. I poured 2 glasses of water, out of habit, not kindness, and handed him one. He held it, but didn't drink. We sat like that for almost 15 minutes, just breathing the same silence. Then he spoke, and for once there was no angle in it, no performance. He told me things I never thought I'd hear from him. How after I left, Mom unraveled slowly, not all at once, just thread by thread. How he tried to step up, but didn't know how. How being the favorite felt great until there was no one left to absorb the consequences. He said he didn't come to guilt me, didn't come to ask for anything permanent. Just one night. He said he needed to remember what stability felt like, even if just for a few hours. He said I was the only person he'd ever felt truly safe around, and he wasn't proud of that. He fell asleep on the couch, curled up like he used to when we were kids, and thunderstorms rolled in, and he'd sneak into my room, pretending he wasn't scared. I sat at the kitchen table, watching the clock tick past midnight, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Not rage, not vindication, just grief. Not because I missed what we had, but because I finally understood how little of it was ever real. In the morning, I made coffee. 1 cup, for me, left his glass of water on the counter. When he woke up, I told him he had to go. He didn't argue, just nodded, pulled on his jacket, and stood by the door for a moment. He didn't say goodbye. He said, thanks for not making it worse. And I said, I'm not in the business of saving people anymore. He walked out, and this time I locked the door behind him. The day after Sam left, I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee and no one else to tend to but myself. The sky over Flagstaff was streaked in soft orange and fading blue, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed the morning anything. No call came from Mom, no follow-up apology, no explanation, and honestly, that was the clearest answer I'd ever gotten from her. They both said what they needed to say. So had I. I spent the rest of that week in a kind of quiet that used to scare me, back when I confused being needed with being loved. But this time, I leaned into it. I planted herbs in the kitchen window. I repainted the hallway. I fixed a cabinet door that had been hanging crooked for 6 months, not because anyone asked me to, but because I wanted to. I was finally building something, just for me. And then came the letter. Again, from my mother. Same looping handwriting. Same weight behind the envelope. This time, it wasn't guilt-laced. It wasn't dramatic. It was short. 3 sentences. I understand now. We didn't deserve what you gave us, and I don't expect anything more. I just hope you know that I love you, even if I didn't show it right. I didn't cry. I didn't write back. I folded the letter neatly, placed it in a drawer with all the others I'd collected over the years. Report cards, overdue bills, half-hearted birthday card signed Love, Mom, and Sam. I didn't need to destroy them. I just didn't need to carry them anymore. Because here's the thing about starting over. It only works when you leave the tools of your old life behind. I built a life, one that runs on peace instead of pressure. on chosen connection instead of obligation. One where being needed doesn't cost me my soul. They miss me now, I'm sure of it. But they don't miss me. They miss what I used to give them. And I'm not coming back. Not to fix. Not to rescue. Not to carry the weight they refuse to hold. Not this time. Not ever again.